Hello and welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to show you easy ways to subtract binary numbers. Please like and share our page and videos on Facebook, follow and like Learnifik on Instagram, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. After you subscribe on YouTube, click on the bell icon to get notifications when new videos are uploaded for you. Let's go over some important rules you need to know. First, what would 1 minus 1 give you? 1 minus 1 gives 0. Second, what would 1 minus 0 give? 1 minus 0 would give you 1. These examples are pretty easy, right? Let's do more. If you have 1, 0 minus 1, in this example, we are going to introduce the concept of borrowing. Let's learn this together. In the first column, 0 minus 1 will give us a negative number. So we have to borrow from the next column. It is very important to note that anytime you borrow in binary, the number you borrow becomes a 2. So when you borrow from the next digit in the second column, the number you borrow is a 2. So the 1 you borrowed from in the second column becomes a 0, while the number you borrow is a 2. Then 2 minus 1 equals 1. The next column is now a 0 because you borrowed from it. Your final answer is 1. So let's check if our answer is correct using the decimal equivalent of these numbers. The decimal equivalent of the binary number 10 is 2, while the decimal equivalent of 1 is 1. So in decimal, 2 minus 1 equals 1. This confirms our answer is correct. Let's do another example. In the first column, 0 minus 0 gives you 0. In the second column, you cannot say 0 minus 1 because it will give you a negative number. So what do we need to do? Yes, I know you said borrow from the next column. However, looking at the third column, it is also a 0. We cannot borrow from a 0. So we go to the fourth column. We have a 1 on the fourth column. So we borrow from here to the third column first. Pay particular attention here. When we borrow from the fourth column to the third column, the fourth column becomes a 0, while the number we borrow to the third column becomes a 2. Remember these rules. The first is, anytime you borrow in binary, the number you borrow is a 2. While the second rule is, if you borrow from a 1, it becomes a 0. Back to our example. The third column is now a 2. However, we need to do the subtraction on column 2. What do we need to do now? We have to borrow from the third column to the second column. When we borrow from the third column, which is a 2, it becomes a 1. Anytime you borrow from a 2, it becomes a 1. This is the third rule you need to know. On the second column, because you borrowed from the third column, you have a 2. So 2 minus 1 gives a 1. Now, on the third column, since there is nothing to subtract, just bring down the 1. Now, let's check if our answer is correct. The decimal equivalent of 100 is 8, while the decimal equivalent of 10 is 2. So 8 minus 2 is 6. So we are correct. Another example. In the first column, we have 0 minus 0, which gives 0. For the second column, we have 0 minus 1, which would give us a negative number, so we need to borrow from the third column. So borrowing from the third column, it makes digits on the third column becomes a 0. Remember, the number we borrowed is a 2. So on the second column, we have 2 minus 1, which gives 1. So write down 1. For the third column, 0 minus 0 is 0. For the fourth column, 1 minus 1 gives 0. So our final answer is 0010. Let's check to see if our final answer is correct. 110 in binary has a decimal equivalent of 12. 1010 in binary has a decimal equivalent of 10. When you subtract 10 from 12, we have a 2. So our answer is correct. Now to the final example. In the first column, 1 minus 0 is 1. For the second column, you need to borrow from the fourth column. First, borrow to the third column, which becomes a 2, while the fourth column becomes a 0. Then borrow from the third column to the second column. The third column becomes a 1, while the second column becomes a 2. For the second column, you have 2 minus 1, which gives 1. In the next column, you have 1 minus 0, which is 1. For the fourth column, we would borrow from the fifth column, so we have 2 minus 1, which is 1. The next column is 0 minus 0, which equals 0. On the sixth column, we have 1 minus 1, which is 0. A final check on our answer shows that we are correct. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and follow Learnifik on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.